right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's Insight Show. We got Michael Lahoud, the mayor of San Antonio. Hey, how you doing, man?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. Just chilling, living my best life with a good morning cup of tea.
At least it's sunny there, man. We got sometimes it's sunny, but sometimes you just get rainy and like raw.
Here, you know how it is. Sometimes it's raining and sometimes it's boiling. It's
Yeah.
about boiling today.
How's quarantine treating you?
It's been good. It's been a gift. I never thought I'd say it's been a gift during a pandemic, but
Yeah.
it's given me the gift of time. As you know, recently I retired from professional football,
Yeah.
and that was a decision, and it's been a long process to get there. And on top of that, it's really been a gift. Um, my missus and I, it's given us a lot of time to connect and really get to know each other and find common ground and values that are core values that keep us connected. And it's just been really good.
I've been seeing you being like, even though you're retired, you're still keeping fit. How is working out without having to work out for football?
Bro,
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah.
It's so different. Like we were talking about before getting on, you don't realize how much sacrifice and how much resilience
Yeah.
that you have to be a professional footballer. The daily grind, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I find myself pushing through those moments of my legs hurt. I don't have to push through because I'm not getting paid
Yeah.
more. And I find myself tapping into that mental capacity and pushing myself that extra mile. But it's hard. It's such a different sort of fitness. In the midst of a pandemic, I think I've started running less. One, it's a billion degrees at the crack of dawn here. So my aerobic, fitness levels have gone down, but still keeping it tight at the back here.
No, fair enough, man. So how did you start football then? Run us back.
Oh, well, when I hit the rewind button, my
Yeah.
story is Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
The joke in our family is that I came out of the womb with a football in my hand. I was obsessed from day one, and I was a shy kid growing up. But the one thing that I could speak, the one thing that was always I gravitated towards from a social aspect of things was football. And in Sierra Leone, in our small village east of Freetown, the capital, we would get out of primary school and just play football from the rest of the afternoon until the stadium lights, the sunlight.
Yeah.
So those are fond memories I have. And when I left Sierra Leone and moved to America, I tried to continue that and found friends who were just as passionate, and it reminded me of my first home and life in Sierra Leone. And from there, I mean, football really saved my life. I left Sierra Leone when I was 6 years old, and I left in the midst of civil war. So I came as a refugee, and I came with a lot of trauma, a lot of uncertainty. And football was the one thing that made sense to me. It was a common language that I could connect to and speak as I was learning the language, English, not that English, American English. So football and I have always had a love affair from day one.
Yeah. How was the transition from, because I obviously know the story, haven't talked to you, but I never got into the nitty-gritty of how was that transition, especially like mentally, because obviously there was a lot of stuff going on like in Sierra Leone, and you're obviously coming across as a young kid. Like, how was that?
It was difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it was difficult. It was traumatic. When you leave war and you leave everything you've known up to that point in life, and you're 6 years old. I came here. I traveled from Sierra Leone as a refugee by myself to Washington D.C. There's things that I literally, I hate using that word, but there's things I can't explain that happened the way. I ended up meeting my mom in a parking lot outside Dulles Airport. And I'm so grateful for my journey here. And when you get here and all the dust settles, it hits you now what?
Yeah.
And my mom was trying to figure things out. And so I had to learn along the way. And I'm forever grateful for my childhood best friend, Jack Wolf. We connected on day one. It always helps when your new best friend is the most popular kid in school.
Yeah, true.
He has loads of personality and just a good guy, very loyal. And he's still one of my closest friends today. We've been friends for most of my entire life. But he took me under his wing and showed me the ropes. And that made all the difference for me. He introduced me to his friends, and we bonded over football. His dad was my first coach,
Oh,
Jeff Wolf. And I will never forget the one thing he taught me, just to love the game and enjoy the game, play for fun. He always told me this, he said, you have a gift, enjoy it.
yeah.
And that belief was massive for me, to have someone believe in you. Coming from war-torn country, there's so much uncertainty. Your parents are trying to figure it out. There's uncertainty there in how do we adapt and assimilate. You're trying to assimilate as a kid. But to have that sense of calm and stability from his family and his dad in particular is massive for me. And it always gave me this spark of life that I could be something more, that there was hope that I could be more than my circumstances and more than the initial beginnings of my story.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's actually funny you're saying that. Obviously not the same situation, but I was literally talking to my mum the other day, and we're all like around the table making jokes and thinking about back in the day.
Yeah.
And first of all, my mum came to England before all of us. So she came to England, and then I came with my sister and my grandma who passed away. And then my dad came after. So she was actually telling me a story that me and my sister came to the airport, and like my grandma had like fallen. Obviously, like the people were like, "Oh, okay, like who's here to pick you up," kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
was young. I think I got to be like maybe like 4 or 5. So she's like, "Oh yeah, like they asked, is this your mum?" And obviously, I didn't see my mum in years. And luckily, I just like nodded my head. But even at that moment, like you're too young to like really just verbalize kind of thing. So it was like kind of that shock, because I'm now in a new environment. Like I know that's my mom, but
Yep.
you stargaze by everything else that's going on around you.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy that she was talking about that.
Well, I have a question for you. Well, what was that experience like transitioning for you, if you don't mind? Because that really speaks to me, everything you're saying.
True. I don't know, man. Like you said, it was different. I think one thing is that, like, one thing I really appreciate is that my parents have really done a lot to get me and my sister to this like situation that we're in now. And like, not many people understand, or you don't understand until you're much older,
Yeah.
what the bigger picture was. And obviously, like being in a new environment, not being around like what you're used to, like twists your head a little bit. But I don't know. I feel like I was maybe too young to really interpret it, but now, having grown older, like I know more now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that really resonates with me, man. What I'm learning through just growing and getting older and hopefully getting a little bit wiser is you don't know what you don't know. And that instinctual bond, that child mother bond, that's what helped me recognize my mom at the airport.
Yeah.
I had my mom for a few years since she left Sierra Leone to come and try and create a better life
Yeah.
for me, because I was the only child at the time. But you just know there's this connection that you feel that you can't explain,
Yeah. Yeah.
and especially to your mom. So I thank you for sharing that. I haven't come across too many people that have a story similar to that. So that's
Yeah.
why
Yeah. Yeah. So hold on. So your mom and your dad were in America, right?
yeah, they came
Now,
before then my mom came, then I came.
yeah. So did you feel homesick having left your grandma and your granddad?
Yeah, I grew up with them
Yeah.
partially. So in a way, they were pseudo parents to me when I was in Sierra Leone when my parents left. And my grandpa and I, we had such a special bond. His name is Anthony, and everyone always said that I was the miniature version of him. Same mannerism, same way of going about things. He just had this noble presence and brought a sense of harmony. He didn't say much, but when he spoke, he commanded respect, and he just brought this gift of peace around people. And he was a very well-respected businessman in Sierra Leone. And you know, I still have fond memories of him. And my great grandma, who, she were alive today and she was in America, she would have been a lawyer. She was just this sassy, witty, outspoken woman, which in Africa, that's a big thing, especially the 80s and 90s. And even now, but especially during that time, that was something that made people turn their heads. And I grew up in a house, especially in Sierra Leone, where the respect for women, you treat women well, you're a gentleman. And I'm so grateful for those values, to be able to carry those transitioning to the US and doing my utmost to try and uphold that, you know, as a grown man. But it was hard to, we got friends here. Don't mind the background volume.
No, it's all good. The dog's hungry, innit?
Yeah, we let the dogs out. But the hardest part, when you transition from one country to another, or from one environment to another, there's a sense of loss.
Oh yeah.
And I, this massive sense of loss, because I felt like I lost what home meant to me, and this familiarity, you yearn for that when you're young. And it took a while for my new home to become home. And my friends really were instrumental in that. So many of them growing up created space for me to become part of their family and get that sense of home. Is at home, we were still trying to figure out, what does home mean here in America? And no one ever tells you how to transition in the midst of civil war to a new country. So, especially as a 6-year-old boy. So, and even as an adult, there's things that I'm still working through, you know, from a mental and emotional standpoint, from the trauma that I carried from West Africa to America. And during that process, it's changed. It's radically opened my eyes to the type of man I want to be and continue being. And I still want to and aspire to work through some of the past trauma.
Yeah, for sure. So like fast forward now, obviously you're in the US, DC, and you said you're like playing football, and your friend, Jack Wolf, his dad was a coach and he was your first coach. How did they still have like academies back then, or like was it like Sunday league? And then how did that transition to school, like university?
So when I moved to the States, it was right before any academy system was thought of. MLS hadn't even been created yet.
Oh, sure.
The World Cup, I moved here in 1993, the year before the World Cup in the US. I barely remember it because I had so much trauma. It was a part of my brain just felt like it shut off. But I remember having to watch the World Cup matches a year after on VHS. Because I was physically sick and in and out of school, and just don't remember enough of it. So the cool thing was my mom taped all the matches, and I got to relive the.
Yeah.
And the biggest bummer was finding out after the finals that was a year before. So, like, wait, what? It felt like I was in the movie Inception, man.
Oh yeah.
So it was surreal. And in the footballing scene, we called it club football. So it's, you know, similar to, you have these feeder teams. So in London, so if you're in North London, you have your feeder, you know, youth football teams that feed into the Spurs Academy. We're not going to name the other team in North London because they're not. But you have these feeder teams in the Premier League clubs or championship clubs. And when MLS was created, it was a massive shock. Football in America, there wasn't professional football in America for a long time. They had tried with the USL and then the NASL before, but there was this massive gap this dead space for football. And if you were really good, you went to uni. And, you know, there are some guys, the John Harkses, the Tap Ramos, I think Alexi Lawless, they were the cream of the crop, that Eric Ronaldo of that generation that got to go play abroad. And that was an anomaly. So what I remember as a kid was club football. You played, you got in someone's minivan, you crammed the 11 in the back of the minivan, and you were flinging all over, you know, the DC area. And if you were really good, as you got older, you'd take trips up to New York or go down to Florida, and they split the country into 4 regions. Region 1 was from Washington, D.C., Virginia, I think, all the way up to Maine. Region 2 is the southeast, or the southern region, southeast and the south. So I think it went all the way to Texas in the southwest, Florida in the southeast, and it bordered, you know, I think, I'm not sure if Kansas, Oklahoma, as far north. And then Region 3 was the entire Midwest, and Region 4 was the western U.S., so Colorado on the eastern part of it, and the Pacific Northwest to Southern California. So they kind of crammed all this talent and said, okay, this is how we're going to start identifying players. A big vehicle for identifying players became ODP. So your Landon Donovans, your Marcus B came through that ODP youth system. And I liked it, but just like anything, there's a little bit of politics in it at the time. But it was the start of something. It was the foundational point of something to identify young talent. And from there, for me, though, I did ODP, but I love club football. You were playing with guys you grew up with. You were playing with neighborhood guys, the next town over, guys you knew from high school that you played on your high school team. So at a young age, you start getting used to this rivalry between friends. And the one thing that I wish we could change, that I wish I could have gotten to experience, was to get established into academy team at a younger age. Because one of the most powerful things in football is you learn that you are playing for something much bigger than yourself. You're playing for what this badge means, the history behind it. And we just didn't have that at the time. DC United was the local team. They were the cream of the crop early on in MLS, and they're one of the most storied teams in MLS history, but there wasn't enough history there to cling on to. And we just didn't have enough football matches on TV. The Prem, if you were lucky, or if you were breaking into the neighbor's cable box, you had access to it. But you know, I was pre-academy system.
One sec. It's hot, fam.
Hey, I need to shift my position because I'm dripping, bro. The sun is not made. It's made for some, but not for me.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, bro, I have to. Buddy, get out of the shade, man.
It's getting hot down there, no?
Bro, it is.
So how did you get to play for Wake Forest then? How did you make that transition from club to uni?
Let me move this back a bit. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
All right, brilliant. That seemed like a seamless transition. I was playing, I'll never forget this. I was playing at a youth soccer tournament just north of Washington, D.C. And we didn't have the best tournament as a team, but for whatever reason, I was playing lights out. And I didn't know who Lionel Messi was at the time, but it was the closest Messi-like moment that I had. It was as if I blacked out and did something incredible, where I picked up the ball. I think we were getting humiliated, and I picked up the ball from deep. And I grew up as an attacker. You may not realize that, by the way, watching me as I got older, but I used to score lots of goals. And I picked up the ball and just started slaloming past people. Wasn't even thinking about it. And beat a whole bunch of people right down the middle of the field, rounded the keeper, and walked the ball on the goal. And just trotted back, because I was upset. I was thinking, man, we're getting humiliated about that goal. Timing is everything. So the assistant coach and the head coach of Wake Forest, Jay Vidovich and Bobby Muse, they happened to turn around at that moment and saw that play. They had
Mad.
never seen me play before, and that was the first time they saw me play. It was in this miraculous moment. And people say things happen for a reason. I also believe things happen because of a reason.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. That's nice.
they had to be there at the right timing, but that one moment of magic caught their eye. And I'll never forget, they emailed me. This is the back in the days of MSN email. I'm not going to tell you my old MSN name. That stayed private. But I was an MSN kid, and I just got an email I never checked. I happened to check my email that day, and I got a message from Wake Forest University that said, if you take a chance on us, we'll take a chance on you. I thought that was simple. So they invited me down for an unofficial visit, and the moment I got on campus, I knew. And I talked with the coach, Jay, at the time, and he tried to explain the history of the program and everything, and I just stopped him halfway through, and I said, hey, I'm your guy. You don't have to say anything. I'll be here in 2 years. So I committed as a junior, and I fell in love with the university for two reasons. One, the architecture. It was just such a beautiful campus, and it just felt like this sense of home.
Yeah.
And two, I got to witness what camaraderie, team, and really family is about, and that value of having family. The senior class that year, they set the foundation for what my class was able to step into and build off of. Guys like James Riley, Michael Parkhurst, James Riley, not thinking of Mike Lowry. James Riley, Michael Parkhurst, Amir Lowry, Ryan Cockerty, and these guys all went to have professional careers. Michael Parkhurst in particular represented the national team in the World Cup. But man, they are mentors for me till this day. But it was that sense of family and camaraderie that I gravitated towards and committed to Wake.
Yeah, nah, I definitely experienced the same thing when I traveled over to America. Like, I wasn't too sure about going there in the first place, but mine was weird. I didn't get a visit. So literally I had to like look at the Google images and decide there in it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, literally just looked it up and I was like, yo, the facilities are crazy. Like compared to Luton at the time, like, yeah, it was mad.
It was just a step above.
I'm just like, yo, like how does a university have this? So I've gone there, but my first season, our senior class was like proper good, man. They literally, as soon as I got there, literally as soon like the day I arrived, the players were outside my accommodation, like all of them, ready to help me move in. And I know that's like, it's not a normal thing because I remember years later, like would have maybe like one or two people like to make sure that the freshmen are welcome and stuff. But at that time, like there was quite a few people that came and like helped me move in and whatnot. And throughout that year, like they set like the standard for how, like you were saying, like a family should be, and to know that you can enjoy yourself out. But once you step on that pitch, it's game time. And like that year we went on and won the regular season and stuff. But I think that's definitely a key thing about college, because obviously you're changing team like players every single year. So how do you like hold that foundation? It's literally them guys have to show it to them guys, and then the next people have to show it. And it's crazy though.
That's interesting when you talk about that. So for us at Wake, that senior class that was there that set that foundation, they stayed invested in the program.
Oh, sure.
They were so grateful and bought into the philosophy of the program that they would come back and train with us. It was almost like this fraternity for football, where to play and learn, to play alongside the training and learn from guys who were pros, it makes that dream of I want to become a professional footballer tangible. You can now taste it, you can touch it.
Yeah, that's mad.
Rather than when someone who has worn the jersey, it gives you real hope, not just a Man, maybe if I play well, I'll have a chance. No, I'm part of something special, and I want to take the baton that they've passed. I want to take it the extra mile. I went to Wake Forest because I wanted to win a national championship. I wanted to create history. I've always been inspired by this desire to make history and take whatever's been done before to the next level.
Yeah.
And so I gotta keep the wee man under control here. And to be able to do that, we ended up winning the national championship our junior year in 2007. And to be able to do that in North Carolina, where it felt like a home match, just there's so much that goes into it. The easy thing to see is the 18 guys, the 24 guys, but really the 11 guys, I should say, that are on the pitch, or the 14 guys or 15, 16, how many guys are in the rotation.
Yeah.
But for us, it was the guys behind the scene. It was everything from the Roxanne, who did the kits and did the equipment stuff. It was the trainers. I think of a guy, Steve Wiley, the assistant coaches. And most importantly, it was some of the squad players that were in the rotation. They made it competitive. They have the desire, the passion, the grit to show up every day. And a lot of times in training, they were some of our best players. And they were the guys that made me better. It made our captains better. They pushed us. And it brought up the level. And when you have that sort of standard, where the guy that's number 24 in the depth chart is bringing that level of performance and mentality and commitment, you have no choice but to bring it as well. Because our manager would drop you. He had no problem growing pains, and there were times when I got dropped, and I ended up, I think I'm second all time in appearances for the university. And there were times I got dropped because my attitude, right? And I needed to learn that, attitude and passion and desire and commitment, that never changes. You can have bad days, but your attitude and your mindset, that has to be there. And I'm grateful for everything that Jay Vidovich taught me. The most important thing that I remember from Wake Forest wasn't the championship. It was this philosophy of winning on and off the field.
Yeah.
That he didn't just want to have good footballers. He wanted to really create an environment to help you become a better man. And that was what he always preached to me was, you can play football, but I'm going to challenge you to become a better man than you were when you first walked in here. And he was, when I look back at my career, he's one of the coaches that had the most impact on me.
That's mad. That's so crazy, because I literally had the same experience.
Yeah.
Like, my coach was like, when I came in, I told him like I wanted to do X, Y, Z, and I wanted to make it pro afterwards and set classes in a certain way. But like, let's say he knew I was good already, but like his plan was to make sure that I came out there with a degree and a better person at the end of it. So like, I think it's those coaches are different, man. Because like you will learn, there's a lot of lessons you will learn in football regardless that you can use outside, but the lessons that you learn from people like that, who want to make sure that you're a better person by the time you get out, I think is major. And like, they do it year after year. I think they're amazing people, honestly.
Yeah, I think the best coaches, especially at such a formative time in a young man's life, going to uni. When I got to uni, I was lost. Outside of football, I was struggling. I was looking for meaning. I don't know what I was looking for, but all I knew was football.
Yeah.
And for him to challenge me in the ways he did, and it was almost like this father-son relationship, I think about. And as a coach, you're in such a unique position to impact the next generation or that current generation of players. And I'll never forget, he said to me when I graduated, and I ended up graduating with a degree in mathematics and Spanish. So hablo español, I think.
This guy.
And gotta put
See.
it out there, and you never know who's watching. He called me the plug, but he, I asked him, why did you, what did you see in me that you stuck by me and pushed me? And he laughed and he goes, I've been waiting for you to ask me that question since you got here.
Damn.
Wow, this is already profound. And he said, when he saw me, that what came to mind for him was, you were always my diamond in the rough. And
Wow.
when you find a diamond, every diamond starts off as cold. And with a little bit of pressure and a little bit of refinement, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of refinement, over time, the coal becomes a diamond. Yeah. And I was so touched by that. And that was the best sending off that I could have asked for, to go and enter into my professional football, career.
Damn, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's mad. Like, I feel like we've had like the same experiences. Like, let me go back again. Literally, so my coach actually came to England, and after I'd been released by Luton after my third year, so I went to like a exit trial thing, and I was just playing. And funny enough, we were only supposed to play one game, like it was a match. So it was like basically everyone who had been released like came and like they muddled it up, and everyone played a game. They had coaches from England, and I didn't know at the time, but it was like schools from America. I didn't know about America at the time. So yeah, he's watched the game, and literally the next day, he's called me up. He's like, "Hi, is this Leroy?" I was like, "Yeah. I'm a coach from America. Like, I'm gonna offer you this, that. Like, come to America." Da-da-da. So I'm thinking, America. Like, why would I go to America? I don't want to do that. And then he was like, "Think about it." And at the time, I had a friend. Well, he's still my friend. His name's Elias, and he was in America at the time. So when he heard the offer that I was getting, which I won't disclose, he was like, "Bro, you have to go. Like, what else are you gonna do right now that is better than what you're getting?" And it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Sometimes there's like when we were talking before, you have an offer or an opportunity that's in front of you at this time, and if you don't take it now, will it still be there a couple years down the line? So I came back and I told my parents, and I was like, "Yeah, he's offering this, that." And obviously my parents are now thinking like, why would you not? I feel like they were half and half, because they saw the opportunity, but at the same time, they didn't want to let me go off to America by myself. No, it's the difference between Milton Keynes and Luton, which is 30 minutes. But then here and America, that journey is crazy.
Yeah.
So literally I was like, call me whilst my parents are here. So he calls me, and he's talking on loudspeaker. My mom, my dad, and my sister are here. And my dad asked him a question, yeah. And he was like, "What did you see in Leroy at that time you saw him play that made you want him like this bad?" And he was like, "Just like from my interaction with him, like I knew everything about him. Like I knew what kind of character he was. I knew what kind of a player he was." And I was just, and literally, he would like say stuff that like my parents knew what I was, you know what I mean? So it would be like, how does he know that when he's never met me, but I'm standing here and talk to my parents and they know that's me? So they're thinking, what's going on over here? And fast forward, like literally, I would have times when I was at school, and like there's some games you just go through the motions, innit? You go through the motions, you're just playing. And he pushed me so much that even if he knew that I'd have a good game but still be chilled myself, he wouldn't accept that. I remember there was one game we were playing at a stadium against a team called Mercer. Bro, we were cruising through the game, like, and I was chilling. Bro, he grabs me at halftime. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, I know this is not your standard. Like, you have to raise it like now. Like, I know you're more than capable of 20 more levels up this. Like, take care of it." And after, I went on, I set up like 2 goals, maybe like scored like one or something. And at that moment, I knew that, you know, you can have sometimes we have a coach that just, you know, wants us to play for his benefit in order to win the game, obviously. But then there's some coaches that are there to make sure that they're requiring the best of you at all times.
Yeah.
And that situation that always like sticks with me, and I still talk to him still to this day. He calls me like whenever, just to check up on me. And those kind of people are different, that you still have a relationship still to this day, regardless of many years ago when they saw something in you, they still see something in you now. And it's just crazy that you said that, because I experienced the same thing.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Leroy, where are you taking me?